What if one word shattered your perfect life? Jake, a devoted husband, thought he had it all, until a single phrase at a party exposed a devastating secret. Watch as he uncovers the truth and takes back control in this gripping tale of betrayal and justice. The Austin sunrise painted the sky in streaks of orange as Jake Thompson laced up his running shoes, the familiar rhythm of his morning jog already calming his mind. At 38, he'd built a life most would envy. His tech startup, CodeZap, was thriving, pulling in contracts from local businesses hungry for sleek apps. His wife, Emily, 36, was a rising star at her marketing firm, her wit and charm landing her big clients. Their two teens, Ava and Ethan, filled their suburban home with laughter and the occasional bicker. Jake's days followed a steady beat. A 5K run at dawn, coffee with Emily, then off to CodeZap's bustling office. Weekends meant family barbecues or date nights at their favorite taco joint. Life wasn't just good, it felt unbreakable. But cracks can hide in even the sturdiest foundations. That Saturday, Jake and Emily pulled into the sprawling backyard of Ryan Carter, Emily's boss, for company barbecue. The event celebrated a massive deal her firm had sealed, and Ryan, ever the showman, had gone all out. Music thumped, kids splashed in the pool, and coworkers mingled with plastic cups in hand. Jake wasn't big on these events, too many forced smiles, but he showed up for Emily. She thrived in the spotlight, chatting up colleagues with ease, while Jake preferred quieter moments. He nodded politely, shook hands, and swapped small talk about Austin's tech scene. As Emily laughed with a group near the grill, Jake headed to the drink table, weaving through the crowd. He grabbed a soda, the ice clinking in his cup, when a burst of laughter caught his ear. Ryan's son, Tyler, 22 and already a few beers deep, was holding court with his buddies a few feet away. Their voices carried, loud and careless. Jake barely paid attention until a single word sliced through the noise: Starlight. His hand froze mid-sip. That word wasn't just familiar, it was sacred. He and Emily had coined it on their honeymoon, whispered in a moonlit cabin in Colorado. It was their private code, a nickname for moments only they shared. No one else knew it. No one. Tyler's voice rolled on, oblivious. Yeah, she's got him wrapped, calling her Starlight like it's some rom-com. His friends cackled, but Jake's world tilted. His pulse hammered, his grip tightening on the can until it dented. He scanned the crowd for Emily. She was still by the grill, her head thrown back in laughter as Ryan leaned in, his hand brushing her arm. Was it a coincidence? A drunken slip? Jake's mind raced, clawing for logic. Maybe Tyler had overheard something, a story Emily shared at work. But why would she share that? And why did Ryan's grin seem too familiar, his eyes lingering on her a beat too long? Jake forced a smile, rejoining the party, but the air felt heavier now. He watched Emily move through the crowd, her confidence magnetic, her glances at Ryan frequent. Had they always been this close? He tried to shake it off, telling himself he was overthinking. But the seed of doubt had taken root, and it was already sprouting. That night, as Emily slept beside him, Jake stared at the ceiling, the word Starlight echoing like a warning. He couldn't unhear it. By morning, he'd made a decision. He needed answers, not guesses, not excuses, but proof. Before dawn, Jake slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Emily. He pulled up an app on his phone, ordering a set of discrete security cameras. Motion-activated, remote access, the works. He wasn't proud of it, but the gnawing in his gut left him no choice. If he was wrong, he'd laugh it off and move on. If he was right, he didn't let himself finish the thought. The cameras arrived by noon, and Jake installed them methodically. One in the living room, another by the garage, a third at the front door. Each synced to his phone, feeding live footage he could check from anywhere. He tested the app, the feeds crisp and clear, then pocketed his phone. At breakfast, Emily sipped her coffee, chatting about her day. Big meeting with Ryan's team, she said, scrolling her phone. Might run late. Jake nodded, his face a mask of calm. Got a quick trip to Dallas, he lied, tossing out a story about a client meeting. Back tomorrow. Emily smiled, kissed him goodbye, and wished him luck. Her warmth felt genuine, but Jake's stomach twisted. Was she that good at pretending? He grabbed his bag, climbed into his truck, and drove, not to Dallas, but to a quiet street 3 blocks away. He parked, opened the camera app, and waited. The truth, whatever it was coming. Jake Thompson sat in his truck, parked on a quiet Austin side street, the hum of the engine long silenced. His phone screen glowed with the live feed from the security cameras he'd installed at home, each frame a window into a life he wasn't sure he knew anymore. It was 8:15 a.m., and Emily had just left for work, her SUV pulling out of the garage as the camera caught her checking her phone before driving off. The tracker Jake had discreetly enabled on her car confirmed she was headed to her downtown office. So far, everything looked normal. Too normal. His fingers tapped the steering wheel, restless, as he fought the urge to second-guess himself. Was he paranoid? Had Tyler's drunken starlight comment at the barbecue been a fluke? The questions gnawed, but Jake stayed glued to the feed, determined to know. The morning dragged. The living room camera showed an empty house, the garage feed idle. Jake sipped lukewarm coffee from a gas station cup, his eyes darting between the app and the street. He replayed the barbecue in his mind. Not just Tyler's words, but the way Ryan Carter, Emily's boss, had hovered near her, his laughter too easy, his touches too casual. Jake had always chalked it up to Ryan's schmoozy charm, the kind that closed million-dollar deals. But now, every memory felt tainted. Had he been blind? Or was his mind stitching together a story that wasn't there? He shook his head, refocusing on the screen. Doubt was loud, but evidence would be louder. By noon, nothing had changed. Emily's tracker showed her at the office, her car unmoved. Jake's stomach growled, but he ignored it, unwilling to leave his post. He opened his laptop, pulling up CodeZap's dashboard to check on his startup. A client email pinged, but he couldn't focus. His thoughts kept circling back to Emily. Their life together, college sweethearts, building a home, raising Ava and Ethan, had felt like a shared mission. Could she really throw that away? He wanted to believe she couldn't, but Tyler's voice, slurring starlight, wouldn't let him. At 1:47 p.m., a notification jolted him. The garage camera had detected motion. Jake's heart lurched as he swiped to the feed. Emily's SUV rolled in, the gate closing behind it. His breath caught. She wasn't due home for hours. She stepped out, her movements brisk, and headed inside. Jake switched to the living room feed, watching her drop her bag and kick off her shoes. Alone, she seemed relaxed, normal. He exhaled, almost relieved. Maybe she'd forgotten something or had a half day. He leaned back, willing his pulse to slow. Then another notification pinged. The garage camera again. Jake's eyes widened as a sleek black Tesla eased into the driveway. Ryan Carter climbed out, glancing around before striding to the side door. Jake's blood ran cold. He switched feeds just as Emily opened the door, greeting Ryan with a smile that hit Jake like a punch. They stepped inside, and the living room camera captured it all. Ryan's hand grazing her back, her laugh as she leaned into him. No hesitation, no guilt, just ease like this was routine. Jake's grip on the phone tightened, his knuckles white. He zoomed in, catching Ryan's arm slip around her waist as they moved out of frame toward the kitchen. His mind screamed for explanations. A work meeting? A friendly visit? But the intimacy in their movements killed those lies before they formed. Jake's chest burned, his breathing shallow. He wanted to storm home, to confront them, but something held him back. He needed more than this, proof that couldn't be spun or denied. He forced himself to stay calm, switching between feeds, capturing screenshots. The cameras were his edge, his way to strip away the deception. He opened a secure app, backing up the footage to a cloud drive only he could access. Minutes ticked by, each one heavier than the last. The living room feed stayed empty, but muffled voices reached the kitchen mic. Laughter, then quieter tones. Jake's imagination filled the gaps, each scenario worse than the last. He checked Emily's tracker again. Her car hadn't moved since she arrived. Ryan's Tesla sat brazenly in their driveway, no attempt to hide it. The boldness of it stung. They felt safe, untouchable. Jake's jaw clenched. That was their mistake. At 2:30 p.m., another camera pinged, the front door. Jake's heart skipped, fearing a neighbor or delivery might complicate things. But it was Ava, their 16-year-old, home early from soccer practice. Jake cursed under his breath, his protective instincts flaring. He watched as Ava entered, calling out for Emily. The kitchen voices stopped abruptly. Moments later, Emily appeared on the living room feed, smoothing her hair, her smile forced as she hugged Ava. Ryan followed, his charm dialed up, asking Ava about school. Ava, oblivious, chatted back, then headed upstairs. Jake's relief was fleeting. Ava's presence had paused whatever was happening, but it didn't erase it. He sat back, his anger sharpening into resolve. Emily and Ryan thought they were clever, but they'd miscalculated. Jake wasn't the trusting fool they assumed. He saved another clip, his hand steady now. The cameras would keep rolling, and he'd keep watching. Whatever they were hiding, he'd expose it. Every look, every touch, every lie. As the afternoon sun dipped, Jake started the truck, his eyes still on the feed. He wasn't ready to confront them yet. Not until the truth was undeniable, and their excuses had nowhere to run. Jake Thompson's truck idled on an Austin side street. The hum of the engine a faint backdrop to the storm in his chest. His phone screen burned with the live feed from his home security cameras, each frame tightening the knot in his gut. It was 2:45 p.m., and his daughter Ava's unexpected arrival had interrupted whatever Emily and Ryan Carter were doing in the kitchen. The living room camera showed Ava heading upstairs, oblivious to the tension, while Emily and Ryan lingered, their voices low but audible through the mic. Jake's fingers hovered over the record button, saving every second. He wasn't just watching now. He was building a case. The kitchen feed flickered as Emily reappeared, her movements sharp, like she was recalibrating. Ryan followed, his usual swagger dimmed, his eyes darting toward the stairs. "Close call," he muttered, barely caught by the mic. Emily's laugh was tight, forced. "She's got practice later," she said, checking her phone. "We got time." Jake's stomach churned. Time for what? He switched to the garage feed, confirming Ryan's Tesla still sat in the driveway, bold as ever. Their confidence, acting like they owned the place, lit a fire in him. He screenshot the feed, adding it to his growing file. Minutes passed. Ava's footsteps echoed from upstairs, then stopped. The house went quiet, too quiet. Jake's pulse raced as he toggled to the living room camera. Emily and Ryan were back, closer now, his hand on her arm, her head tilted toward him. The mic picked up fragments, her soft laugh, his murmured words. Then, clear as day, Ryan said, "Starlight, relax. She's not coming down." Jake's breath stopped. There was again that word, their word, now a blade twisting in his chest. He hit record, capturing the moment, his hands trembling but precise. This wasn't a coincidence. It was betrayal, raw and undeniable. Jake's mind raced, piecing together the timeline. How long had this been going on? The barbecue, Ryan's lingering touches, Emily's late nights at work. It all clicked into a pattern he'd been too trusting to see. He opened his laptop, pulling up Emily's cloud backups from their shared account. A few clicks revealed texts she hadn't deleted, messages to Ryan that weren't about work. "Missed you last night," one read. Another, "Starlight shines tomorrow." Jake's vision blurred, not with tears but with rage. He saved the texts, his evidence mounting. At 3:15 p.m., the front door camera pinged. Ava was leaving, her soccer bag slung over her shoulder. Jake exhaled, relieved she wouldn't witness whatever came next. The living room feed showed Emily and Ryan relaxing, their guard down. Ryan pulled her close, his lips brushing her neck. Jake's grip on the phone tightened until his knuckles ached. He wanted to drive home, to burst through the door, but he forced himself to wait. Confronting them now might give them room to lie, to spin a story. He needed them caught, exposed with no escape. He switched apps, checking the tracker on Emily's SUV. It hadn't moved, but Ryan's Tesla was still there, a glaring symbol of their arrogance. Jake's anger hardened into focus. He opened a secure note, listing every damning detail. Timestamps, camera angles, text logs. His lawyer, Sarah, would need it all. He typed fast, his mind clear despite the chaos inside. This wasn't about revenge. It was about truth, about reclaiming his life from their lies. At 3:40 p.m., the kitchen camera caught movement again. Emily and Ryan were there, laughing, pouring wine. The casual intimacy of it, glasses clinking, her hand on his, was worse than any explicit scene. It was familiar, practiced, like they'd done this 100 times in Jake's own home. He recorded it, his jaw clenched. The mic caught Ryan saying, "When's he back from Dallas?" Emily's reply was cool. "Tomorrow. Plenty of time." Jake's blood boiled. They were mocking him, counting on his trust to cover their tracks. He couldn't wait any longer. Jake started the truck, his hands steady despite the fury pulsing through him. He drove the 3 blocks to his house a blur. Every second felt like a countdown. He parked a street away, not wanting to alert them. The camera app stayed open, showing Emily and Ryan still in the kitchen, oblivious. Jake grabbed his phone and keys, stepping out into the humid Austin air. His steps were deliberate, his mind locked on one goal. End this now. He approached the house, the front door camera catching his own figure as he neared. The door was unlocked, another sign of their carelessness. Jake pushed it open, the faint creak cutting through the silence. He stepped into the living room, and there they were, frozen mid-laugh, wine glasses in hand. Emily's eyes widened, her face draining of color. Ryan stiffened, setting his glass down too fast, the clink loud in the quiet. Jake stood tall, his voice low but razor-sharp. "Starlight, huh?" he said, locking eyes with Emily. "I know everything." The air went heavy. Emily stammered, "Jake, it's not." But he cut her off, his hand raised. "Don't. I've seen enough." Ryan shifted, his mouth opening, but Jake's glare silenced him. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every second of their panic. Jake's heart pounded, but his voice stayed steady. "You thought I wouldn't find out? You're done." He turned, pulling up the footage on his phone, ready to walk away with the truth in his hands. This wasn't over. Not yet. Jake Thompson stood in the doorway of his Austin home, his phone clutched tightly, the camera app still open, recording every second of the scene before him. Emily and Ryan Carter sat frozen in the kitchen, wine glasses abandoned, their faces a mix of shock and guilt. The air crackled with tension, the silence louder than any shout. Jake's voice, low and steady, cut through it. "Save your excuses," he said, his eyes boring into Emily's. "I've got everything. Cameras, texts, the truth." Her mouth opened, but no words came. Ryan shifted, his usual charm replaced by a nervous swallow. Jake didn't wait for the response. He turned, strode to the living room, and grabbed his laptop bag, his movements deliberate, fueled by a clarity that drowned out the pain. He didn't linger. "You've got 1 hour to get out," he told Emily, his tone final. "After that, my lawyer handles this." He walked out, slamming the door, the sound echoing in his ears as he climbed into his truck. His heart pounded, but his mind was sharp, already planning the next steps. He dialed Sarah, his divorce lawyer, her number on speed dial from a business dispute years ago. "I need you," he said, voice calm despite the storm inside. "Caught my wife with her boss. I've got video, texts, everything." Sarah's response was immediate. "Send it all. I'll start drafting." Jake uploaded the files, camera footage, screenshots, text logs, to a secure drive and shared the link. Evidence was his weapon now. Driving to a nearby coffee shop, Jake set up his laptop, the hum of the cafe grounding him. He reviewed the footage again, each frame a fresh wound. Emily's laugh with Ryan, the casual way she'd leaned into him. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a mockery of their life together. He forwarded more clips to Sarah, including the moment he'd walked in, their panic undeniable. By 5 p.m., Sarah called back. "This is airtight," she said. "Texas is a no-fault state, but with this, you're keeping the house, the assets, everything. No minor kids, no alimony. She's got nothing to fight with." Jake nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. "File it fast," he said. "I want this done." By evening, Jake checked into a hotel, unwilling to return home yet. He monitored the cameras remotely. Emily's SUV was gone, Ryan's Tesla too. The house sat empty, the living room feed showing only shadows. Jake exhaled, a mix of relief and rage. He texted Ava and Ethan, keeping it vague, staying in Dallas an extra night. "Love you guys." Protecting them was his priority. They'd learn the truth later, when the dust settled. He lay on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, the day's events replaying. Emily's lies, Ryan's arrogance. It all burned, but Jake felt a strange calm. He'd taken control. The next morning, Sarah sent the divorce papers, drafted overnight. Jake skimmed them, the legalese cold and final. Irreconcilable differences supported by evidence of infidelity. He signed digitally, authorizing Sarah to serve Emily. By noon, the cameras caught a process server at the house, handing Emily the papers. She stood in the driveway, reading, her shoulders slumping. Jake didn't feel triumph, just closure. He'd built a life with her, but that life was a lie. Now he'd dismantle it legally, cleanly. Word spread fast. A co-worker of Emily's, tipped off by the process server's visit, posted a vague tweet. Drama at the top. Some execs aren't as slick as they think. It gained traction, and soon, whispers of Ryan's involvement hit Austin's tight-knit business scene. Jake didn't fuel the fire. He didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself. By day's end, Sarah called with an update. Emily had hired a lawyer, but had no defense. She's not contesting, Sarah said. This'll be quick. Jake kept the house, code zap, the cars, everything he'd built. Emily walked away with her personal accounts and nothing else. Ryan's fall was swifter. A local tech blog, sniffing scandal, dug into his firm's contracts. The footage Jake had leaked anonymously, carefully edited to show only Ryan and Emily's indiscretions. Hit X, shared by an industry insider. Clients pulled back, citing ethical concerns. By the next day, Ryan was suspended, his board citing conduct unbecoming. His reputation, built on years of deal-making, unraveled. Jake watched the posts pile up, each one a nail in Ryan's career. He didn't gloat. He didn't need to. The truth was enough. Emily tried calling, leaving voicemails Jake deleted unheard. She texted once. "I'm sorry. Can we talk?" He blocked her number. Ava and Ethan, still unaware, texted about school, their messages a lifeline. Jake replied, keeping it light, but planned to sit them down soon. They deserved honesty, but not yet, not until the legal dust settled. He leaned back in a hotel chair, the weight of betrayal still heavy, but no longer crushing. He'd exposed the lies, protected his kids, and secured his future. Emily and Ryan could have each other. Jake was done carrying their secrets. Jake Thompson sat in his Austin office at CodeZap, the hum of his team's keyboards a steady backdrop to his new reality. It had been 3 weeks since he'd walked in on Emily and Ryan Carter, their betrayal exposed by his security cameras. The divorce papers were finalized, the ink dry on a settlement that left Jake with the house, his company, and their assets. Emily got nothing but her personal belongings, her lives stripped bare by undeniable evidence. Now, as the Texas sun streamed through the window, Jake focused on rebuilding, not just his life but his purpose. The scars of betrayal lingered, but he refused to let them define him. The fallout had been swift and brutal. Emily's world collapsed under the weight of her choices. Her social circle, once vibrant with brunches and charity galas, vanished. Texts went unanswered. Invitations dried up. A former coworker posted on X about her fall from grace, and the thread exploded with speculation. Emily tried reaching out to mutual friends, but most sidestepped her, unwilling to touch the scandal. She'd moved into a small apartment downtown, her life reduced to quiet solitude. Jake didn't track her movements anymore. He didn't need to. The cameras were off, their purpose served. Ryan Carter's ruin was even more public. The leaked footage, anonymously shared by Jake to a local tech blog, sparked a firestorm. Clients dropped his firm, citing breaches of trust. An internal audit uncovered padded expense reports, and by week's end, Ryan was out, his corner office empty. Industry insiders on X dissected his downfall, labeling him a cautionary tale. His attempts at damage control, vague apologies, claims of misunderstandings, fell flat. Austin's business scene, tight-knit and unforgiving, closed ranks. Ryan's name, once synonymous with success, now drew silence. Jake turned his focus to his kids, Ava and Ethan. He'd sat them down a week after the confrontation, choosing a quiet diner to break the news. "Your mom and I are done," he said, keeping his voice steady. "She made choices that broke our family." He spared them the details, showing only a text log to explain without accusing. Ava cried. Ethan stared at the table, jaw tight. They asked to stay with Jake, and he nodded, promising to keep their lives stable. Emily had visitation rights, but the kids were distant, their trust fractured. Jake enrolled them in counseling, determined to shield them from the wreckage. At CodeZap, Jake threw himself into work, not as an escape, but as a mission. He launched a mentorship program for young coders, teaching skills he'd honed building his startup. The first session, packed with eager teens, reminded him of his own drive at their age. Ava and Ethan joined one class, their presence grounding him. He didn't talk about Emily, but his team sensed a shift. "You're sharper now," his CTO said, half joking. Jake smiled, knowing it was true. Pain had clarified his priorities, his kids, his work, his integrity. Emily tried contacting him once more. A letter slipped under his office door. "I was weak," it read. "I thought I could have it all. I'm sorry." Jake read it once, then shredded it. Her words were hollow, too late to matter. He didn't hate her. He felt nothing, a numbness that spoke louder than anger. Sarah, his lawyer, confirmed the divorce was airtight. No appeals, no contest. The house was his, a space he was redefining with Ava and Ethan. They'd started family game nights, a new tradition to fill the silence Emily left behind. Ryan's name surfaced again when a former client sued his firm, citing mismanagement. The news hit X, trending locally. Jake scrolled through the posts, not out of spite but curiosity. Ryan had relocated, rumors pointing to Dallas, chasing a fresh start. But his reputation followed, a shadow he couldn't outrun. Jake set his phone down, uninterested in gloating. Ryan's collapse wasn't his victory, it was just consequence. Jake's days found a new rhythm. Morning runs, breakfast with the kids, long hours at CodeZap. He hired a new developer, a young woman whose grit reminded him of his early days. Mentoring her felt like paying forward the lessons he'd learned. At night, he'd sit with Ava and Ethan, talking about school or their dreams, small steps toward healing. They didn't ask about Emily often, and Jake didn't push. They'd find their way together. One evening, scrolling X, Jake saw a post from a local entrepreneur. "Trust is currency. Betray it, and you're broke." It hit home. Emily and Ryan had gambled with his trust, and they'd lost everything. Jake hadn't just kept his assets. He'd reclaimed his life. He closed the app, looking out at the Austin skyline. The pain hadn't vanished, but it was quieter now, overshadowed by purpose. Losing Emily wasn't defeat. It was freedom. He'd build something new, not on lies, but on truth for himself and his kids.